Hi, so starting a gardening business can be one of the more sort of difficult things to get your head around, really. There's a lot of stuff to consider. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be going through your head if you're thinking about doing that now. What I'm going to do today is tell you my story, really, of how I got into this and why. And my hope is that perhaps it will help you to distill your own thoughts and help you to come to your own decision. So when did I first get into gardening? Well, as a very young lad, actually, we would go to Nan and Grandad's on the weekends, and one of my favourite things to do at Nan and Grandad's is, Grandad would take us out into the garden, and we would do gardening with Grandad, basically, and he would teach me every weekend different aspects of gardening and different aspects of what made things grow. And I've never forgotten the first time that I grew something from seed in a little yogurt pot. I knew then what I wanted to do with my life from a very young age. And that never really stopped. When my mum and dad used to go out to pick up something from the shop, I'd be going into the shed at the end of the garden and getting the mower out, and I used to mow the back lawn, and I would do it just purely because I like the feeling of looking back and saying, oh, the lawn looks pretty good now. I used to, from a very young age, I was very hooked on gardening, and I just knew in there that's what I wanted to be. But unfortunately for me, I grew up in something called Blair's, England. So when I went to get career advice at school, and the career advisor asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and there was only two options really that I could think of, things that I wanted to do. So I said I either want to be a doctor or I want to be a gardener. And I think the career advisor was kind of taken aback because they're two very different things. And quite correctly, I was informed, because I don't really regard myself as very intelligent, to be honest, that I wouldn't be smart enough to be a doctor, and that I shouldn't get a job as a gardener. And I was told from a young age, because you can't make a living as a gardener. So the career advice I got at school was, don't become a gardener because you can't make a living doing it. So I took a step back and tried to decide what I did want to do with my life, and it was more of a practical decision than a decision about what I loved. I knew that I enjoyed science at school, and I went to university and got a master's degree in chemistry. And then I went to work in industry for quite some time, and I was in the chemical industry, and you could say I had some success. You could say I enjoyed my work, and at times I think I was good at my work, but there was never really anything in there. Okay, when I was doing projects in the chemical industry, when I was trying to figure out different things, I was doing it because I was forcing myself to do it. It wasn't because I loved it. There was nothing in there. And then the pandemic came, and I think I just had enough, really, of doing things that paid the bills, but I didn't personally feel a connection to, I didn't enjoy, and I wanted to try have a bit of a different life, to live a bit of a different way. So I tried numerous different careers, and it was the same. I was always trying different careers because I thought, well, I can't make a living as a gardener. I can't make a living doing the thing I love. I've been told that throughout my whole life. So I was jumping between different careers, different jobs, trying different things just to see if I could find something I liked. And all the time it was just coming back to, at the weekends when I was in my own garden, doing my own garden, thinking, I wish I could do this for a living. And I remember one time I put an ad in the local paper. This is how I got started. I put an ad in the local paper and just said, look, jobbing gardener, here to help anyone who needs any help. And I got picked up. I suppose I was really lucky. I got picked up this really kind chap who lives locally in my area, and he didn't pay me much to start with, but he allowed me to do the garden up for him. It was a garden that had the borders completely overgrown by weeds. Lawn hadn't been mowed in a very, very long time, and I think he was kind of taken aback that I wanted to come on the weekends and fix his garden up, and I did, and I absolutely loved it. And I remember the feeling that first time of him putting some cash in my hand and thinking to myself, this is cash that I've earned off my own back by my own work. This is not cash that I've been paid by a company, by someone else. This is something I've earned off my own back. And the first time you get that feeling, believe me, it's good. But again, I thought to myself, how could you earn a living as a gardener? I'm going to have to find something practical to keep me going. And I went and worked for a company. And my job was QA in that company. And I was often sent around the world to inspect and audit different sites at which their products were being made. And some of my team had gone to audit one of these sites, and they'd raised some concerns about the site at which their products were being made. Specifically, that they thought they'd seen kids working in the factory. So I went to audit this site as well. And lucky for me, I went to audit it at the same time as the auditor, the external auditor. And lo and behold, what did we find in the factory? We found that there was 8-year-old girls making products for this company. Now, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but I think that would be unfair to say that. But when I went back and told the management about this, they asked me to bury it. They told me to ignore it and pretend it had never happened. And that was the break point for me. I knew I had to go. I knew I'd spent my whole life doing things that paid the bills but that I didn't love. And I just had this weird feeling like I almost don't care anymore. I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do the thing that I've always wanted to do. And I went and did a post in Facebook and started volunteer gardening for 2 weeks. I was going around and doing people's gardens for free, just to see what kind of volume of gardens I could do, what I could really cope with, and whether people actually thought that I was any good at this. And the feedback I got all the time was that actually I was really good at this. And people kept telling me how knowledgeable I was about plants as well, which, no offence to anyone out there who's a non-plant kind of gardener, but initially that came as a bit of a shock to me because I thought all gardeners knew about plants. But yeah, I was told that was a strong point for me. After I finished the volunteering sort of spree, within 3 weeks of that, I was fully booked. I was still working out the back of my car, but I was fully booked. Okay? Fully booked for me at the time meant 5 hours gardening a day. No more, because I didn't think I could handle anymore. But I was fully booked. And I've never really looked back from there. We've gone on to bigger and better things. We've got the commercial work now. And what I like about what I do now is the amount of work I get, the type of work I get, is just a reflection of the effort I put in and how motivated I am to find it. So you can't really beat doing what you love for a living. If you're watching this video and you're thinking, I absolutely adore gardening, I can't think of anything else I want to do. But if you're like me and got given that bad advice, and people have convinced you throughout your whole life that you have to do something else, well, let me just say to you, ignore everyone else. Do what you want to do for a living. Chase your dream. Be rational about it. You've still got food to pay for, you've still got bills to pay for, but find a way to chase your dream. Don't let anyone ever convince you that you can't do the thing you love. Thank you, guys.